You're listening to Procurement 6, the weekly podcast from the team at Art of Procurement that summarizes this week in procurement in just 6 short segments.
Hi there, my name's Helen Mackenzie and today is Friday, December the 20th, 2024.
6.
These days, procurement is increasingly a game of the head and the heart, isn't it? We've got so much data. It's the lifeblood of procurement, spend analytics, risk management and the ESG tracking. And that gives us the numbers we need to make smart, logical decisions. The head thrives here. But what about the heart? In one of my all-time favourite books, Chip and Dan Heath's Switch, they remind us that to drive real change, we need both rational data and emotional connection. Procurement teams must tell compelling stories connecting data to outcomes that matter to stakeholders, and the data shows what's possible, but the stories inspire action. The head and the heart. Balance the two, and you'll bring procurement's value to life. So that's my final tip for you in 2024. Can you balance the head and the heart?
5.
In a recent episode of the Art of Procurement podcast, Philip Ideson spoke with Pierre Mitchell, Chief Research Officer and Managing Director of Spend Matters. Pierre's an analyst in the procurement space, and in the extract I've chosen for you this week, he gives his take on some of the biggest trends, both good and bad, in ProcureTech that he's keeping his eye on in 2025. Let's listen in.
So there's obviously a lot of change happening in the procurement tech market. I wonder, what are the key trends that you're just tracking, as a firm at Spend Matters, but, individually on the impact of changing technology and trends on procurement?
Yeah, well, the latest trend is geopolitical and chaos and, planning about what to do around that. Unfortunately, there is in this case, I have not yet seen a single app that does dynamic supply network, kind of planning, costed all the way to the consumer level. Mm-hmm. Doing all these kind of, these pieces. It's a real mashup of different things. But let's get away from kind of the that does expose kind of where you're lacking a lot of strategic data, though. Let's be clear.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of busy, as we're recording this, a lot of busy teams figuring out supply scenario plans manually, I think.
Yeah, a little late to the game with, scenario plan. It's just like supply chain risk, right? It's all great until you get punched in the face, right? To quote Mike Tyson's.
To listen to the full episode, go to artofprocurement.com/podcast or search for Art of Procurement and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts or click in the link in today's show notes.
4.
If you've ever joined one of our AOP Live sessions, you'll know they're a bit different from a typical procurement webinar. AOP Live webinars are live and they're unscripted conversations with the leading voices in procurement. Audience feedback and questions are key, and in 2024 we framed part of each discussion around a community snap poll taken before the event. AOP Lives are some of our most dynamic and insight-filled virtual events. And to round up the year, we've taken a look back at the most important takeaways from every AOP Live webinar in 2024, including our unique poll insights published in each episode from third-party risk, ESG, strategic value creation, AI, and everything in between. And we've created a yearbook. In the UK, we'd call it an annual, and that's a regular gift under everybody's Christmas tree. The AOP Yearbook is the year's worth of the best procurement insight and data. It's in a quick and easy to read format that you can get through in one short sitting, with a cup of tea or a mince pie, or even a wee dram. And it's a great way to catch up on any of the webinars you may have missed this year. So click on the link in today's show notes to download your free copy of the AOP Yearbook today.
This is Procurement 6 from Art of Procurement. To get notified every time an episode is published, go to artofprocurement.com/subscribe. 3.
In many households, the Christmas season brings around the same old debate over what is better, a real or an artificial Christmas tree. My family, for one, has always had an artificial tree. Our current one's been going strong since 2009. And as someone who cares deeply about supply chain sustainability, I've always felt that we were on the right side of this Christmas debate. But according to an article published in Supply Chain Digital this week, the answer isn't as clear as I thought. And although I still think our artificial tree is the best choice, like most procurement decisions, it's not always a simple one if your focus is really sustainability. Now, according to the article, which I've linked in today's show notes, there are real environmental pros and cons to both. Real trees are sustainable in some ways because of their CO2 absorption and the role they play for wildlife, and they're compostable and usually sourced locally. But on the other hand, often they're transported hundreds of miles before reaching retailers, and many of them end up in landfills where they release methane. Now, for artificial trees, usually made out of PVC plastic, these trees come with a more heavy upfront environmental cost. Most are manufactured in China from coal-powered energy, and they're shipped internationally, all of which creates a pretty heavy carbon footprint. But if you keep your artificial tree for a long time, at least 10 years, the article says, it can actually offset its environmental footprint to become more sustainable than a real tree. So, the amount of time you keep the artificial tree seems to be the real key here. Go Clan Mackenzie with our 15-year-old and counting Christmas tree. Regardless of where your family comes down on the real versus artificial tree debate, it's an interesting and festive case study in sustainability and seasonal logistics, and it's a perfect example of how research and trends in sustainability will continue to impact our cultural traditions and what we buy. To check out the full article, click on the link in today's show notes.
2.
The year's almost over, and I'm already thinking about what to get excited about in 2025. And at the top of my list is Art of Procurement's new in-person, wow, did I say in-person, event called Catalyst LA. Now, Catalyst LA isn't going to be your typical business conference. It's an exclusive in-person Art of Procurement event that we're hosting on May 6th in Los Angeles, California. We're putting together an executive summit designed specifically for procurement and digital transformation leaders to come together, share their visions for the future of procurement's operating models. Attendees will have the chance to collaborate with and learn from their C-suite and leadership peers with a focus on how to build a strong vision for the future of procurement. The event's limited to 100 attendees, and it will include interactive roundtable discussions and breakouts, as well as a session from a Hollywood scriptwriter on the importance of storytelling for procurement success. And the best news is you'll get to meet some of the AOP team in person, including me. So, if you're a procurement or digital transformation executive interested in attending, click on the link in today's show notes to learn more and request an invitation.
1.
Before we wrap up, I wanted to take a moment to say a huge thank you to you, everybody in our Art of Procurement community, for all your support during 2024. Whether you've attended webinars, commented on posts, read our newsletters, or tuned into the podcast, we appreciate every bit of your engagement. So from all of us here at AOP, we wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Here's to an even bigger and better 2025.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next Friday at 6 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time. If you've enjoyed this pod, help us grow and tell your peers to search for Procurement 6 wherever they get their podcasts.